Hi, I'm Garm One, and this is Midgardia's Cool Crowdfunding Show. I'm here today with Ralph. How's it going?
Wonderful. Thanks for having me on the show.
I'm always glad to have you. So, you're here today to tell us about some dice. Why don't you tell us a little bit about those?
Oh, um, just a few days ago, Chinese New Year or Lunar New Year, we launched finally our pre-sale for our element dice, which are those beautiful dice here. It's a little bit hard to show off, but they come with a beautiful pouch with the 5 elements on top of them, designed by a wonderful, great artist that I met here in Beijing. She goes by the name Fantalism. She should be now working somewhere in New York, if I have that correct. But we did the project together, Wude, the 5 powers, about 3 years ago. That's when the dice got started. And now it's finally the time that I figured out shipping to the US because, or to North America, because that always has been a headache. And yeah, finally you can get your hands on them after many, many requests where I have to say, oh, sorry, I'm still trying to figure this out. Talking about the dice a little bit, the dice go with the 5 elements, the 5 powers. And those are the 5 elements. So we have Wu, Mu, that's wood. We have Ho, that's fire. We have Tu, earth. We have, where is it? We have Jin, that's metal. We have Shui, that's water. And since this is a 6-sided die, we decided to put Qi, which is not an element, but the omnipotent power behind everything, on the dice, similar like a critical success, if you will. And with that, we created a whole new way of storytelling. The idea behind those dice is that we don't have dice that give us a number to tell us one particular outcome for a situation. So in a usual role-playing game, you would roll a die and you say you either succeed or you don't succeed, or there might be a consequence involved. With the element dice, we went for a different approach. It's a little bit more in the direction of story dice, where you have little symbols and use those symbols as stories. But with the element dice, we went straight for East Asian philosophy, philosophy behind yin and yang with the 5 elements. And whenever you have a situation, you would always go for both sides, yin and yang, to make a roll and then see what happens in that roll based on the associated aspects of the dice.
All right. So, what games are out there that use these right now?
So the big game that started it all is Wude. We are currently in the 2nd edition. We just launched that back in December. Wude it's kind of the base system, kind of a game on its own. It is more of a framework, if you will. Wude gives you the idea behind the element dice system, how everything works. Wude gives you some guidance in how you set up a gaming session. And then it gives you a particular guidance into its very own storytelling way. But there are some other games that I created over the last 3 years now that use the element dice in different ways. We have some solo games, like, for example, the Fog Spirit of Federsee, or something like Miss Dracula, where you can go into the element dice. We have partner games where you play together with somebody else. Again, you can play Fog Spirit of Federsee as a partner game. You can play Marianne Soul Detective as a partner game. And we have some bigger games that you can play in a group. The biggest title yet is Cleanup Crew, that's currently itch funding as well. We use in Cleanup Crew less of the dice mechanics and more of the symbols, but it would be really, really handy, or I noticed it's really handy for a DM when you kill monsters and they drop their elements, that I can just roll a die and know exactly what it is without having to look at the table all the time.
Yeah. I mean, once you've got the characters memorized.
Yes, I mean, when I play tested for Wude, I used regular D6, and after a while, it wasn't 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 anymore. It was the elements. I rolled a die, I looked at the numbers, and I had them in my head. So it's funny how easy you can train your brain.
The brain is a marvelous machine. It's true.
Yes.
So in addition to the cleanup crew itch funding and the orders for the element dice being up, you've also got a game jam going on. Is that correct?
Yes. This is now a little tradition. Based on the element dice system, we have the 5 powers jam. This year it's the third 5 powers jam, and it usually runs from the Lunar New Year until the Mid-Autumn Festival. It runs until the Mid-Autumn Festival because the first game I created for the element dice system was Returning Maiden, which is based on an old story, and we created a partner game around it. And that happens around mid-autumn, so I thought this is an interesting date. It's also one of the bigger festivals that I celebrate here in China. And that gives us roughly usually around 200 days, so quite a few months. The 5 powers jam is always a very slow jam. We don't want to hurry people. We want creativity to blossom. So it's more about getting the idea out, and we had some amazing titles coming in the last 2 years.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure there will be some for this one as well.
Yes, definitely. I mean, we just started, so in the beginning everything is slow. But just looking at last year's jam, a wonderful, beautiful game by Kat. She made Sacred Forge for the jam, and that's just a wonderful way of using the 5 elements to create a mythical sword. It's a great idea.
I've actually played Sacred Forge. I quite liked it. It was a fun experience.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Well, anything else you'd like to highlight while you're here?
Not much. The only thing that I want to emphasize is that the dice, it's a limited time offer and a limited supply offer. So the idea is we have the pre-orders open until someday in early March to have enough time to get the word out. But if we run out of dice, we will have to stop at a certain point earlier. So there's really no guarantee if we make it all the way until the beginning of March or not.
Yeah. So go click the link below. Get yourself some fancy looking dice, and check out the various games available for it as well.
Exactly. There is an Element Dice collection where I put not just my own games, but also all the titles from the other creators that created for the 5 Powers Jam. I put them all in there. It's a big folder on itch, and we can link that below as well, I guess.
Right on, right on. Will do.
Awesome.
All right. Well, Ralph, thank you for coming on again.
Thanks for having me.
And those of you watching at home, have a good night.